Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Paris Air Show at the historic Le Bourget Airfield outside the French capital. Our coverage here is sponsored by L3 Technologies and Leonardo DRS. And we have with us Yossi Weiss, who is the president and CEO of Israel Aerospace Industries.
Right.
Instead of making that mistake of calling it Aircraft
You're right.
Industries.
This time you're right.
Oh, this time I'm right. So tell us a little bit, Yossi, about what you guys are highlighting and featuring here at the Air Show.
Actually, we are featuring here our new growth engines, or let's say enhanced new engines for IAI. We're sticking to the strategy of going in the missile, mainly in the missile domain, from short-range air defense to medium and long-range air defense. Probably you heard that our backlog of the company has been raised to about $11.5 billion, mainly on new contract relating to this air defense. And if the old traditional IAI air defense was mainly focused on short-range gun-based and short-range missiles, right now we have positioned ourselves in the middle of the competitors for medium and long-range air defense. The majority of the contracts that have been signed recently have been in this domain. And if you would ask me what are the characteristics and the real features of this new development is, I would say, the ability to have a real network sanctioning capability. It means you have some batteries or some ships. You need to coordinate your activities. You're getting new information through the combat scenarios. You need to adapt yourself, and then you can decide in the middle of the activity, this ship does that, this ship does that. Satellite bring you a picture from here. Ground base, you shut up, you stop, and you start. You control a missile in the air by one battery instead of the other battery. So everybody is talking to everybody, new inputs through the activity, and this is making a much higher agility and flexibility for the decision makers. And that's where we're mainly focusing in this show this year.
Missile defense, as we were talking, global air defense, but global missile defense are both growing markets, and you are the maker, in partnership with Boeing, of the Arrow missile system. The 2 and the 3 are now fielded, among the most capable anti-missile systems in the world. You guys competed for the contract in Korea. What were some of the lessons learned in that loss, and where else are we likely to see you guys competing, given that this is a global problem, a global challenge, and you have a workable demonstrated solution?
Let me just correct a little bit the facts. We didn't compete really in Korea. We knew that the Koreans had the need. We talked to the Koreans. They have visited us. We discussed together how to implement the Arrow 2 system in Korea if they would choose it. But by the end of the day, the Arrows program is a mutual co-development and co-production program between Boeing and IAI. We are the prime. Boeing is a very valuable partner. And it, of course, is controlled and maneuvered, or let's say decided by the two governments whether to market it, to export it to that market or to another market. And we didn't succeed in convincing the two governments by the end of the day to bring the Arrow 2 missile to be a real competitor, because performance-wise, we don't have even slight hesitation that the system is capable. It's better than any solution today in the world. Now we are coming to the area where the Arrow 3 is also fielded, as you say, recently in the Israeli Air Force. We would have to sit with our government, and the two governments will have to sit together and to put the rules and the way of behaviors between potential customers. But I can tell you clearly that based on what's going on today in the world, and we can see North Korea, Iran, and all these guys, the countries are showing higher and higher interest in ballistic missile defense. And I'm sure that the two governments, by the end of the day, will find a way to put the limitation or the behaving rules, how to implement the real export market for this very remarkable system.
When you look at the unmanned space, you guys have been longtime leaders in unmanned aircraft, remotely piloted aircraft, however you want to define it. Here you've got there's the Heron Mark II, Mark III, and the Heron TP. Talk to us a little bit about your global strategy on, continuing global growth on those platforms.
As you said, IAI actually was a pioneer in the UAV domain. About 40 years ago, we have started this. And today, there are a lot of competitors, a lot of development, but we are doing everything in our hand to be a leader in this market today. We are putting a lot of R&D money So the Heron Mark II and Mark III that you mentioned, and the Heron TP XP, which is just recently has been released to be discussed with certain potential customers. The strategy mainly is, first of all, to tighten the relation with our traditional customers. I don't know if you know, but about 50 customers worldwide are using IAI UAVs, and about 20 or even more than 20 are using the Heron family. So with this large market, you have to invest a lot in maintenance, in supporting the customer, in keeping the personal relation. We are making a lot of error in this domain, and by doing that, the rest is coming natural, because once you are very much satisfied from what you're doing today, the way to the next generation or to derivatives or some other quantities is relatively easier, and that's where we are focusing today. Not talking about the fact that you can imagine that after 40 years, there are a lot of drawing tables with ideas that we are working on these days, and I believe the coming years will show what we're talking about.
When you're looking at global growth, where are you guys? I mean, we've talked about UAVs, you've talked about missile defense. You're up at $11.5 billion, which is a record for the company in terms of backlog. Where are the other markets and market segments that you're going to be targeting worldwide for where you see the most growth?
I would say that the mission aircraft domain will continue to be one of IAI main business legs. You know, today that, again, it's hardly to say, but we were the first one today to to make this segment to be based on business jets. It's been sold to some countries. We are today, first of all, enlarging the family of business jets that we are operating. We already delivered to a certain country a mission aircraft based on Bombardier aircraft, not on the traditional Gulfstream, and we are looking at some other ones. But we are also enlarging our portfolio to going to light aircraft, or let's say lower level aircraft, not to supply to our customers such a sophisticated edge of the technology, but a real, on the Pareto, 70-80% capability with lower level platform. And you know, some second tier countries or third tier countries have the need, but not necessarily have the funding. And we are today developing connections and solution and architectures for this type of aircraft to continue to domain this very, very important market.
Let me talk about growth in the United States. That's been very important to you. You have Stark Aerospace as well as Elta North America that's in Maryland. Talk to us a little bit about your growth plans in the United States in particular, and whether you're concerned at all about some of the America First, Buy America rhetoric from the Trump administration.
First of all, I can really understand the Buy America initiation by the current administration. It's more than natural that the American government will take care for the American citizen. That's clear for me. This comes in conjunction, totally in conjunction, with a new agreement between the Israeli government and the American government. You know that the Obama administration, about 7 months ago, have signed an agreement for the next 10 years, which by definition eliminates through the years the ability to convert American fund to Israeli shekels. It means you will not be able to do the same level of work or at all to develop, to manufacture, or to do all kind of maintenance in Israel by Israeli industry based on American funds, which immediately brings us to the fact that in order to maintain our work share in these funds, or even to be strong in the US, we have to strengthen our footholds in the American market. That's what we are doing today. Stark is being very much pushed by us to strengthen themselves and to grow. We just put there a new director for Stark. We're putting our money there. We have brought some Boeing aerostructure activity to the Golden Triangle area, and we are doing some other activity there. And Elta North America is doing fine. They are getting orders that are going bigger and bigger from the American users. I cannot go to details, but you know the vectors are very positive and very, very indicative. We are looking for another American company to put their third foothold in the American market. So by the end of the day, we fully understand that for our interest, not talking about the American interest, it's very viable for us to be strong in the US. That will support our financial interest, but also the American industry and more jobs for the American population.
And speaking of financial interest, my last question is, IAI has been working for many years to increase efficiency. There's no doubt at all about the technological capability of the company, but efficiency was seen to be a challenge. Your predecessors have worked on that as well. Talk to us a little bit about some of the internal moves you're making to make the company more agile, to make it more efficient, and to make it ultimately more profitable and successful.
You're right. Our main issue of concern is the internal efficiency because technology is, everybody can understand that we are at the edge. We have initiated, based on that, about a year ago, what we call the growth plan, where we are laying off about, let's say, 850 workers from IAI. It's in the middle of performance these days, but not only that, we are making some kind of structural changes. One of them is mainly focused on considering restructuring the civil aviation activity in IAI, because this was and still the, let's say, the weak leg in IAI portfolio because of the competition, because of many reasons I don't want to go right now. So what I expect in the coming months is to a real restructuring of IAI in the civil aviation domain, to be much more focused, much more strategized what we are doing and what we are not doing, and I believe it will bring its fruit with the coming years.
Yossi, thanks very much. Best of luck at the air show, and look forward to seeing you in Israel next.
My pleasure. My guest in Israel. Always pleasure to talk to you, and it's really a pleasure to be in the Paris Air Show and to see the positioning of IAI in the global market. It's not that easy to feel it from the long Israel and the Middle East, but you're coming here, you really feel the appreciation of the customers and the competitors, by the way. But it's an efficient place to be these days. Very busy, but very efficient. So thank you very much, Wagner.
תודה רבה.
בבקשה.